Deputy President, tonight I'll talk about Australia's role in the global refugee crisis. On the 14th of June this year, a trawler carrying an estimated 550 to 750 migrants sank in the Ionian Sea off the coast of Greece while attempting to reach Italy. By the end of July, 104 people rescued alive, with an estimated further 500 still missing and assumed dead. It is currently unclear about the role that Greek authorities played in the tragedy, with human rights organisations calling into question why the vessel was not granted assistance. Following this tragedy, on the 16th of June this year, the International Organisation for Migration and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees put out a joint statement to call for decisive action following the Mediterranean tragedy. They said, I quote, "States need to come together and address the gaps in proactive search and rescue, quick disembarkation and safe regular pathways. These collective efforts should have the human rights of migrants and saving lives at the centre of any response," said, end quote, Federico Soda, IOM Director for the Department of Emergencies. Without safe and accessible pathways for migration and resettlement, many migrants and refugees are left to take the treacherous sea routes in attempts to reach better lives. The inherent danger of these journeys is often amplified by the hostile policies that put migrants at further risk. Following the Tampa affair in 2001, the Australian government adopted the policy of turning back unauthorised boats carrying migrants and asylum seekers. Despite outcry and warnings from human rights organisations, boat turnbacks remain a part of Australia's immigration system, alongside a policy of mandatory offshore detention. It appears that Australia has been exporting its miserable policy in relation to unauthorised maritime arrivals. These policies are often referred to internationally as a, quote, Australian-style system. On the 18th of March this year, in an article titled How Australia Wrote the Stop the Boats Playbook, the BBC reported, I quote, "The UK government is banking on its new migration bill to stem the flow of boats crossing the English Channel. The policy's headline-grabbing slogan is identical to that used in Australia a decade ago. For many Australians, hearing UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak promise to stop the boats was a moment of déjà vu," end quote. The tragedy in Greece is symptomatic of what happens when nations fail to take responsibility for refugees that emerge from areas of conflict and attempt to turn boats back or fail to render assistance. There is a direct relationship between the stance of the UK and the tragedy in Greece. The failure of the UK to take its fair share of refugees who land in Europe leads to reluctance by the Greek authorities to provide them the shelter and assistance that they deserve. The dehumanisation of those who seek asylum by boat, perfected in Australia, is now being disseminated in Europe by the Tories in the UK, and it makes it so much easier for those migrants to be allowed to drown at sea. The recent sinking of this trawler off the coast of Greece is a human tragedy, and I pay my respects to all those who lost their lives and their families. This is just one stark reminder of the immense harm inhumane refugee policy, and particularly the policy of boat turnbacks, can do. In the Australian context, we should be striving to increase our humanitarian refugee intake and to provide asylum seekers with a safe and welcoming home. Migrants, including refugees and asylum seekers, make an immense contribution to our society and to this state, New South Wales. I'm very proud to be a child of a refugee, and I encourage our Commonwealth Government to do more to resettle refugees from around the world here in Australia, and particularly in New South Wales. For far too long, our migration system has focused on the wrong priorities. We've consistently sought business migration or skilled migration and have undervalued the positive role that refugees play in our national makeup. While we do take more refugees per capita than our other nations do, we can and should do more. This is particularly reprehensible as Australia is often front and centre in the very conflicts that spark flight. Australia in Afghanistan, failing to sanction the military junta in Cambodia, manufacturing and supplying arms used in conflicts around the world, the immense contribution of refugees should be recognised and their arrival encouraged, not dismissed with harmful policies and hateful rhetoric.
Thank you.